Living with Adversity is a book edited by David Benatar, and it contains personal accounts of 18 people who have lived with some kind of adversity. A new review of this book was published on yourgibraltartv.org. I'm not sure how big of a media house that is in Gibraltar, but the review is good. It talks about the adversities that are covered in the book, what effects such writing has had on the authors, how they are not wallowing in their own suffering, but at the same time providing a glimpse into what they've gone through and what they are going through. And at the same time, it is not a trauma thriller or a self help book either. Not directly on antinatalism, but still a nice one to read through and get the idea of Benatar's collection. 3CR is a community radio station in Melbourne, Australia. It seems to be a well known radio station over there and has been operating for more than 50 years. They had a podcast, Antinatalism and Humans' Impact on the Planet. It was hosted by two vegans who were mainly concerned about the environmental benefits of veganism. And to be honest, they made some logically coherent arguments if what you value the most is this planet's well being. But while doing that, they almost butchered the idea of antinatalism. It appeared to be an honest mistake, but they did some classical errors of misunderstanding antinatalism, like equating not being born to being dead, for example. I wish I had some time to do a response to their arguments, but it is what it is. Speaking of Australia, a statistical study was done in Australia to measure the rates of vasectomies. The researchers collected data from government's medical schemes and population bureaus. They measured two things between the period of 2016 to 2024: the rate of vasectomies and birth rates in different Australian territories. And there's good news in there. This chart shows vasectomies per 100,000 male population in each state or territory from June 2016 to December 2024. As you can see that almost everywhere the number of vasectomies has increased on an average from 30s in 2016 to 50s in 2024. For the same period, here are the number of births per 100,000 female population in each state and territory. And no coincidence that they have been declining steadily. The study reports many more interesting statistics and infographics. It is not yet peer reviewed, but still I think this is good news from antinatalists' point of view. Most of the time, when we talk about antinatalism, we are usually talking about having or not having children. But antinatalism has two parts to it. One is the recognition that our coming into existence has caused us harm. And that's true even if we might feel glad to have come into existence. And two is the moral implication that we should not cause that harm further onto our children by bringing them into existence. Both these aspects are covered in two different chapters in an upcoming book, The Philosophy Prescription: Lessons from Big Thinkers for Everyday Stage of Life by Jack Maiden. The book has 16 chapters, but chapter 2 and chapter 9 may be of antinatalist interest. Chapter 9 is deciding whether to have children, and it features David Benatar. Chapter 2, on the other hand, talks about our relationship with our parents. It's about being someone's child. As antinatalists, we recognize that we were harmed by being brought into existence. So, how should we treat those people who did this to us? Do we owe anything to our parents? Jack Maiden is also the creator of philosophybreak.com, where he recently wrote an article based on this aspect. Jane English, children do not owe their parents anything. He looks at two opposing views. One is the Confucian view that we are always in debt to our parents. Even though we didn't ask them to give birth to us, they did not specifically choose us either. On Confucian view, we are mere means to carry on the intergenerational values. To not be obliged to our parents and ancestors would be betrayal to all the hard work they have done so far. You wouldn't be alive without me, my dad merrily likes to remind me. Well, I didn't ask to be born, is my scowling reply. But that I didn't ask to be born is irrelevant, Confucians would say. No one did. We are simply the latest vessel of an ancestral life force nurturing itself across generations. Our parents did the work, their parents did the work, their parents did the work. Now it's our turn to take responsibility. On the other hand, there is Jane English. She argues that we don't really owe anything to our parents. They may have taken good care of us. That care may contribute to our feeling good to exist, but that cannot compensate for the fact that they created us, and therefore the relationship will always be imbalanced. Seeing as parents are the only party to opt into the relationship, seeing as they volunteered to create and raise us, maybe they just need to accept that the relationship will always be imbalanced accordingly. The duty of care primarily falls on them. That's why she suggests that past sacrifices don't create debts. Rather, they foster love or friendship. If we have received support and consideration from our parents, we might do nice things back. Not because we owe them, but just because that's what nice people on friendly terms do for each other. There's a whole video that can be made on how antinatalists can and should view and treat their parents. But for now, this was an interesting article. Again, I'm cutting short on this one as I had to spend a lot of time this week on hunting for houses which won't have water problems in future as much as this one in which I'm living. So sorry about that, and thanks for watching, and see you next time.